So today I'm going to walk you through the Motogadget M-Unit Blue that I put on my 1983 Suzuki GS450L. And I didn't originally plan to use this. I really didn't plan to update the electrical system that much, other than stators, rectifiers, things like that. But after I found out more about how this M-Unit works and some of the benefits of it, I decided to change course and use it, especially when I found some damaged wires from the stator. So there's a lot of really cool features with this that, for me at least, I can still keep the traditional look, but get some modern features that you can find on new bikes. So I want to look back on my experience with it and give you maybe some tips that might help you if you decide to go this route. So I've got the M-Unit installed under the right side cover. And again, I like the look of more the closed out sides versus the open. So I had plenty of room to install it here. I still have a bunch of things I need to change here, clean up some of the wiring and get my lithium battery in here and other things, but this is kind of where I'm at right now. So this is where I have the M-Unit installed. So just on a custom aluminum plate I put in front of the rear fender. I have plenty of room for it. It was easy to route the wires through, both the inputs and the outputs, close to the battery, and I didn't have to worry about trying to squeeze it in a small space. One of the changes I made pretty early on is I ended up using, and it's a little hard to see, but back in on the other side here there's a combined starter solenoid and a main fuse. I ended up getting that from Revival, and that actually did make it quite a bit easier. I also used their wiring kit, which simplified it also. So I used M-button switches. The wires are pretty small. You don't have much space in there to wire those, so they're a little bit tricky. So I've got the 2-button on the right side, 3-button on the left side, headlight, turn signal, and horn on the left side. And on the right side, turn signal and ignition or the starter. They are pretty hard to wire and a little bit tricky to work with. For example, on here I still have a gap. I need to get this mounted a little better so I don't have that large gap on the top. Also, I have bar end mirrors, and those do take up some room in the handlebar. Basically, you have to route wires from one side to the other and then through the middle. So a little bit challenging. I wouldn't call it overly difficult, but just a bit tedious trying to get those through and get everything to work and fit properly. But got that done, but there wasn't a lot of room in here. It's kind of difficult. It was pretty difficult getting all these wires in and get those, make sure they're not getting caught on anything and get damaged. Here's another look, a little easier to see the M-Unit, where that's mounted. I've got the regulator rectifier above that. I also have basically a ground bus on the side. I've shown you some of the basics of kind of how my system was set up. It's pretty simple. And honestly, there's a lot of videos online that show the installation and some of the things you should know about that. So I'm not going to get into as much detail there. There's plenty of videos out there that you can look to get more information about that. I really want to talk to you what the results were, my impressions of it, and give you some information about that. I mentioned one of my favorite features with the M-Unit was the keyless ignition. You'll notice here the turn signals just flash as I came within range. That makes the ignition active. So if I push the ignition switch, it turns everything on. From there I can turn on the headlights and other systems, see how many amps are being drawn. You can also see the overall battery voltage and amps throughout the whole system too. Here I'm turning on the turn signal, so you can see that cycling on and off. And then finally just turning the whole system off again with the ignition button. Now let's walk through some of the different setup and configurations that you can do. We'll start off with the tail light and how you can set that up as far as how it's lit up. Moving on to the turn signals. You can have those turn off after a certain amount of time, which is what I've been using, or turn it off yourself, or based on how far you've driven after they've been turned on. The brake lights, here you can have it blink when it first comes on, so it gives a little more attention to other drivers. and a few other different ways to do that. And the alarm I haven't used yet, but there's various different ways that you can set that up, whether it sounds the horn or just goes through your phone. So there's a number of ways you can use that, and various other settings that you can configure through the app. Okay, so what's the bottom line? What do I think of the M-Unit? Overall, I love it. I really think it's a great way to update an older bike, give it some modern features and modern conveniences. So I would definitely do it again. So my favorite features of the M-Unit, definitely the keyless ignition. That's my by far my most favorite. Don't even have to pull the keys out of my pocket in order to get it started. I also like the voltage and amperage diagnostic that you can get through the app, which I showed you. The custom braking configurations, custom turn signal configurations. I think all that adds a lot of benefits as far as safety and for how you want to use the bike. And then lastly, just the phone app itself is just so convenient to be able to configure it and see the condition of your bike or your battery or the amperage of the systems. And also if you want to troubleshoot things, you can see the inputs and outputs, you can turn them on and off with the phone, or just do it with the switches so you can see as those things turn on and off. So it's really handy, really great for troubleshooting. As far as the cons go, I'd say the biggest cons are cost and complexity. Definitely is going to add some time to your build. It's going to add some cost, not only in the Motogadget parts themselves, but also just in some of the tools you're going to need. And you may have these tools already, but if you're a new bike builder or this is new, then you're going to probably have to buy some tools you might not have. But you learn a lot through that, and I think it was definitely worth it. But the cons are just complexity and cost. Definitely recommend it, and I hope that this was helpful if people who are considering getting the Motogadget M-Unit, especially the Blue, which is a Bluetooth version. I wouldn't even get one without that. So that's kind of my take on the M-Unit. I think it's definitely worth it. I love it. And let me know your thoughts on it, how you've used it, or things that you're considering if you are looking at it and not sure if you want to go ahead and put it on your bike. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.